We began the week with Ian and Freddie in the kitchen. Hello, Uncle Ian. May I have some squash, please? Squash? What kind of teenager drinks squash? Or even says it? Fizzy, pop, surely, at the very least. Ian said crossly that he hadn't got any, but he had got something that sounded like rhubarb, ginger, coriander, and antifreeze, which Freddie politely said was lovely, thank you. Anyway, Ian was far more concerned about the fact that Hugh has revised the menu at Gay Grable's. It's now all beefy Wellingtons and turkey Twizzlers served on a bed of pickled onion Monster Munch. I recently went to a restaurant and had a tasting menu that was all things that looked like other things. There was a mushroom in the starter that turned out to be white chocolate. There was a thing that looked like a radish, but was actually red cabbage butter. And the ice cream had blue cheese in it. So you spent the entire evening, rather than going, which was a bit wearing after about 100 little titchy witchy courses. And I suspect that is what Ian's menu is like. As he's now reached Kate Madikani levels of indifference regarding poor Xander, who just gets hauled out to everywhere regardless of naps and feeding times, he frog-marched Adam and Xander to a joyless dinner at Gay Grable's so he could sneer at the food. This sauce is obvious, he declared. The pie is predictable. The scallops were frankly argumentative, and the tilapia was recalcitrant. I'm not paying for this shit. Oh, it's on the house. Bastards! He marched out, gesturing to Adam to follow with the baby carrier, or the big handbag with the prawn in it, as he refers to it. A small hitcher. He said breezily that the parental order would simply be a matter of course. I wouldn't bet on it, Mush. First chance you get, you dumped him with his granny for the weekend. You lost him for 4 hours while you... First chance you get, you dumped him with his granny for the weekend. You lost him for 4 hours while a hippie left him in a yurt. And while all the other babies are slobbering on rusks, you're making him eat Pernod foam as an amuse-bouche. If that poor baby could speak, he would be desperate to get on the EasyJet to Sofia to be with the only person who appeared to show any genuine interest in him. The work on the playground continues apace. Everyone's moaning. Firstly, they moaned because they couldn't use the playground because it was broken, and now they're moaning because it's being fixed. At cost, as everyone keeps reminding each other. I may be overly gloomy, but is anyone else hearing the flapping of the wings of the angel of death over Philip? There are far too many mentions of the happiest I've ever been, blah, blah, blah. In every scene, I imagine him either keeled over his binoculars in the bird hide or spread eagles underneath the seesaw. Either way, the man is not long for this world. Kirsty, get him out to that registry office. First chance you get. Chop, chop, or he will pop off, Gav will turf you out, and you'll be bunked up in the room above the shop sleeping in Nokasha's designer bread bin. Talking of Natasha, she seems to have turned from high-flying executive powerhouse to poor little pouty girl. I'm tired, Tom. I don't like driving. I've gone right off trees and fruit. He arranged a cocktail-making night, which managed to sound incredibly unfun, trying to make conversation after she'd nodded off unconvincingly and then screamed when he woke her up, which gave us a slightly alarming glimpse into their intimate life. Tom announced that he would be spending the next day spreading manure. Bit of a contrast from tonight, she said. No, he said, both of them are still basically shit. Then after a few too many gin fizzes, she hiccuped loudly in the back of the cab and said, I know, Tom. I could move all the work to Ambridge. Not the trees, though. I could move the trees. Then I could stay in Ambridge, and then I wouldn't have to get up so early. That would be good, wouldn't it? This for Tom passes as a well thought out business plan. So it was all hands to the pump while Natasha quietly vomited into the glove compartment. More news from the Welsh, with poor Philip, who, as well as fixing the playground roundabout, appears to be on a marital one himself. Krusty's making Peggy Woolley and her etch-a-sketch Will look decisive. I want to get married, Philip, like Tom and Natasha, she said. Okay then, said Philip. Actually, no, I don't. I've got a headache. Let's go for a walk instead. Okay then, said Philip. Actually, my headache's gone now, so now I do want to get married. Okay then, said Philip. I'm starting to have sympathy with Gav. I also had sympathy with Philip when he announced, I'm not interested in Helen and Lee. Neither are the rest of us, Philip, but if we have to put up with it, I can't see why you don't. just because you're going to die next Wednesday or whenever. It is no coincidence that Kirsty's flip-flopping in her desire to be the newly widowed Mrs. Philip Moss came as a direct result of a conversation with Helen. Again, with the Helen advice. Okay, Krusty, you may have made a pig's ear of a few small things in your life, but for the love of God, surely you can find a better mentor than a woman with a boyfriend so thick that he won't go to a Burns night event because he thinks it involves actual burns. Jazza said Jimus wanted to see an ancient ruin, so they popped up to the Laurels to say hello to Auntie Cardboard, but she was far too busy doing her dance class. It's pole dancing. They kidnapped one of the pickers. Mr. Flight home and the poor sod's knackered now. Rex has been driving a hooky trailer around, courtesy of Josh Daly. It gradually dawned on him that it was dodgy when its real owner recognised it. He noticed that the chassis number had been rubbed off and also that it was full of stuff that wasn't his. Linda is having a field day, taking up cudgels on behalf of the largely not-arsed village about the renaming of the Bat Ambridge. She has also gone completely berserk with her French pronunciation, or berserk, as she'd probably prefer. There was an enormous amount of over-enunciation of communautaire, au contraire, etc., which is always an indicator that Linda is in an incredibly good mood, as she always is when she has a petition to wave about, or a petition. It was the Battle of the Burns. The Bat Ambridge gave us a lacklustre evening of warmed-through black pudding, a turnip, Justin Elliott giving a keynote presentation on yield figures in pig farming, Roman doing something unpleasant with a haggis, Kenton shouting Billy Connolly jokes through his megaphone, and playing Donald Where's Your Trousers on repeat on his iPad. The alternative was the Grange Farm do. You have to hand it to them, the Grundys. They are bloody amazing. They have absolutely no money. None. Not even for rent. And yet, they can organise a Burns night for half the village with food, decorations, a quiz, entertainment and music with 24 hours notice. Same as Christmas, an entire Christmas fair produced by one harassed woman with flowery hands and a ne'er-do-well in a Father Christmas suit 2 sizes too big. They are incredible. The loaves and fishes aren't in it. Why aren't they in charge of Glastonbury? They could start on the Wednesday and have it all ready to go by Friday night. Over at the Bat Ambridge, the Burns night was anything but smoking. There is nothing worse than loud music in a quiet room, said Jolene. There is, Jolene. There's you singing in a quiet room. But the pub was not going to back down. Lillian declared that they couldn't start doubting themselves. If we give in to this, darlings, where's it going to end? She said. I mean, we can't have our customers choosing what they want. That's madness. We're not American. They'll get what they're given and like it. After all, a professional man with no socks on told us we had to do this, and so we will, despite the fact that I grew up in this pub and you've both run it for donkey's years. I mean, if we give in to the village on this, then it would be like the Radio 4. Then it would be like Radio 4, listening to its audience, and we cannot have that. The end.